I don't know if guys have noticed this, like a lot of ladies drink water at parties. They just, you know, so you have, if you don't have what they need, they're gonna leave.
Right.
Gotta keep them there.
Right.
You need locks on the doors.
Okay, this is sounding kind of dangerous now.
It's a little kinky, but
yeah.
These are the top 10 facts about Diddy that you probably don't know. What if I told you crazy and strange crimes seem to run in Diddy's family? One of them is that of Christian Combs, Diddy's son. It all started in 2022 when a woman named Grace O'Markay was working at one of Diddy's parties as a bartender. The night started off fun. People were dancing, drinking, and having a blast. But suddenly, Grace started feeling weird and ended up alone in a room with Christian. That's when, according to Grace, things escalated. She said Christian tried to force her to take a tequila shot that she thought had drugs in it. In a recording, Grace can be heard asking him if she was being drugged, and Christian replied flippantly with, "Take the shot." She had to fight to get away from him, and luckily, she did. But the memory of that night stuck with her. Fast forward to April 2024, Grace finally decided to sue Christian for assaulting her and causing emotional distress. As it looks, music producer Lil Rod Jones might be the key to proving all that happened that night, as he was in the same room with them that night and has recordings of everything that happened. So, while the case is still ongoing, Christian might end up in serious trouble, just like his dad. Let's go to number 2. So, Diddy once joked about something y'all won't find funny. It seemed like his favorite part of working in the industry was sleeping with rappers. There's not much to read into this, but where it got super suspicious was when Diddy's ex-security guard, Gene Deal, shared some juicy gist in an interview. Gene Deal even said that one time he was guarding Diddy's door when Diddy was having a freak-off with another rapper, J. Rule. Now, some folks might think this is just silly gossip, but court documents even claimed Diddy hired male escorts. They said he had a secret relationship with rapper Meek Mill, too. Looks like Diddy had been living a wild life for years. That brings us to the third fact. It all started back in 2016 when Usher was on the Howard Stern show. Usher shared something that got everyone's eyebrows up. When he was 13, he went to this place called Puffy Flavor Camp, where he had to move to New York City and lived with Diddy, who was 23 at the time. Now, you might think that's strange, but Diddy has a history of working with young artists, and currently he's been accused of harassing and grooming several stars when they were underage. People like Cassie and Young Miami have even talked about it, and some have filed lawsuits against him. Meanwhile, there's another popular celebrity who hasn't spoken out yet, and that's Justin Bieber. We can't help but suspect that Diddy must have been up to something with him, because when Justin was 15, he and Diddy made a video where they said they were going to spend 48 hours together. Fast forward to a few years later, and we see Diddy confront Justin, asking why he hasn't been hanging out with him like they used to. It's unarguable that Diddy must have tried influencing Justin while they were together. Number 4. This one would shock you when you find out that Diddy unalived some people to gain fame. In December of 1991, Diddy thought hosting a celebrity basketball game in New York would be his big break. He wanted to be the new face of hip-hop, but there was one tiny problem. He had no plan. And so when the game day arrived, over 5,000 fans showed up, even though the arena could only fit half that many. As the game was about to start, everyone who couldn't get in rushed past security, knocking them down like bowling pins. You could imagine a huge crowd storming in, yelling and pushing. Amid that madness, people were tripping and falling, some looking completely limp on the floor. There were losses. And we see later where a friend joked and called him a tragic hero. So, here's something else you should know about Diddy, and that leads us to fact number 5. His name changes. Over the years, Diddy has had a lot of name changes, but what you probably don't know about this is that he's been changing his name to cover up some seriously shady stuff. He's done the craziest things to hide his tracks. One of them is him using self-destructing invites for his famous parties. You'd get an invite, and after you got the party details, it would say, "This message will self-destruct." In 2023, Diddy paid a hotel $50,000 to destroy a tape of him assaulting his wife. Afterwards, he changed his name. He wanted no evidence left behind. So, every time he got into trouble, all he had to do was change his name, and no one would notice. The first time he did this was in the 90s, when he assaulted an Interscope Records employee. Suddenly, he went from Puffy to Puff Daddy. Then, after being arrested for a nightclub shooting in New York, he switched it up again. From Puff Daddy, he became P. Diddy. Over just 10 years, he has changed his name 3 times. And after getting charged with bribery and possession of a weapon, he switched to just Diddy. By 2021, accusations had piled up, and Diddy decided he needed a total rebrand. He changed his name to Love. But even Love couldn't keep his reputation squeaky clean. After assaulting pretty much everyone he met, he flipped back to Diddy, hoping no one would catch on to his little trick. That was until his former security guard, Gene Deal, exposed him and said, "Diddy's the guy who changes his name every time things go wrong. Puffy, Puff Daddy, Diddy, Love, back to Diddy." Another fact is the one that happened in 2022 when Diddy went live on Instagram. He looked excited and ready to share something surprising. And then he leaned in close and kissed his mom right on the lips. But that wasn't all. He also revealed that his mom even goes to strip clubs with him. Just when you thought the story couldn't get any more weird, Diddy mentioned that family ties can get complicated. He seemed to think his mom was the coolest ever, even if it left everyone wondering about what was really going on in his family. No matter what the truth is, one thing is clear. Diddy does not seem like a clean personality. Fact number 7. It's about Biggie Smalls and Tupac. Biggie was Diddy's best friend, and they were both famous. Biggie was signed to Diddy's label, Bad Boy Records. But Tupac, the rival from the West Coast, was stealing the show. He sold 5 million albums in just 2 months, and suddenly everyone wanted to be like him. But one day, an interviewer asked Tupac if he had anything to say to Biggie and Diddy. On September 7th, 1996, Tupac was shot in his car, and everyone was in shock. He died just a week later, and no one knew who did it. People started whispering that Diddy was involved because he was jealous of Tupac's success. In 2023, 27 years after Tupac's death, a man named Keith D was arrested. He claimed Diddy paid him $1 million to take Tupac out. You know what's weird the most? It is that after Tupac's death, Diddy turned his attention to Biggie. Obviously, Biggie had grown tired of Diddy and he wanted to leave Bad Boy Records, but Diddy didn't like that idea at all. So he flew Biggie to California to finish his album. But during recording, a group of gangsters showed up and shot him. At Biggie's funeral, when his song Hypnotize played, the whole crowd erupted with emotion. People started questioning Diddy's intentions. Like, why would he bring Biggie to LA when Tupac had just been shot? According to Diddy's former security guard, Gene Deal, it was suspected that Diddy might have wanted to set Biggie up. Fast forward to 2024, and Diddy was still in the news for all the shady stuff he's been involved in. During that time, his ex-wife, Cassie, flirted with Kid Cudi, and Diddy got so jealous that he allegedly had someone throw a Molotov cocktail into Kid Cudi's car. Thankfully, Cudi wasn't in the car when it blew up. With all this drama, you might wonder, what made Diddy act like this? Well, it seems his childhood shaped him into a real-life monster called Diddy. It seems in the rap world things can get out of control, and you never know who's really your friend. The 8th fact you need to know is that Diddy's life wasn't like most kids. You see, when he was just 3 years old, his dad got mixed up in a really bad drug deal, and before one could say Jack, he was gone. So Diddy didn't have many memories of his dad, but he felt the hole it left in his heart. Diddy's mom knew they needed a fresh start, so she packed up and moved them to Mount Vernon, New York. But instead of a happy new beginning, things got even worse. While Diddy went to a fancy private school, his mom was working 3 jobs to pay for it. She was never around, and Diddy felt alone. With no parents to guide him, Diddy started making some crazy choices. At first, he considered selling drugs because it seemed like a good idea. But boy, was that a mistake. Diddy constantly got into fights with other kids. Diddy wasn't just fighting for money, he was fighting for respect. He felt his mom was training him for the real world, and he learned some tough lessons along the way. Diddy didn't back down from a challenge, and even if he had to deal with some crazy stuff, he was ready to face whatever came his way. And that's how Diddy became the man we know today, a man with a mix of some craziness and a touch of monster. I've not even talked about the freak-offs. Now that will be my 9th fact. So, in 2024, people started talking about Diddy's wild parties, because what was happening behind closed doors was really crazy. I guess that's why it's called freak-offs. Now let me tell you, these freak-offs were so strange. Think of gallons of alcohol, tons of baby oil, and participants hooked up to IVs just to stay conscious. Sounds a bit scary, right? Some folks said people were forced to join these freak-offs, and Diddy himself once joked back in 2002 that if women didn't have what they needed, he'd just lock them up. That's not just weird, it's downright scary. Attendees of Diddy's parties talked about seeing all kinds of strange things, but the real freak-offs happened somewhere secret, somewhere most people couldn't go. Then, in September 2024, news broke that Diddy's house had underground tunnels leading to a cave. What was going on down there? Were the tunnels linked to those freak-offs? I'm just as curious as you are. In those same reports, it turned out that police had seized over 1,000 bottles of baby oil from Diddy's house, along with some serious stuff like AR-15s and drugs. Why would someone need that much baby oil? It's kind of hard to explain, right? Some people started to think it was a cover for liquid ecstasy, a party drug of some sort, some speculating maybe GHB. Could it be that Diddy was using the baby oil to keep his victims from realizing what was happening? Even Diddy's lawyer jumped in. Oh, it wasn't 1,000. It was just a lot. People buy in bulk. But then Costco came in saying they don't even sell baby oil. Finally, what if I told you that Diddy predicted his own downfall? You know how celebrities have been warning us about Diddy for years, and we had no idea, right? Let's take a little trip down memory lane. Back in 1998, Mike Tyson was being interviewed with Diddy, and something strange happened. Diddy casually rested his hand on Mike's leg, but Mike was not having it. He quickly moved Diddy's hand away, like, "Not today, buddy." It seemed funny at the time, but now maybe it was a sign. Then, in 2000, comedian Rosie O'Donnell dropped a joke about Diddy that was kind of, well, more serious than we thought. She was listing Grammy nominees, and out of nowhere she goes,
multiple Grammy nominees this year. Lauryn Hill's got 4, TLC's got 8, and Sean Combs 5 to 10.
and if that wasn't enough, in 2023, Cat Williams came out with some serious words. Sounds sus, right? It gets even weirder. Diddy himself predicted it all way back in 1999. He sat down for an interview with Entertainment Tonight and said he basically predicted his own downfall, like he knew it was coming. With more secrets waiting to be uncovered, who knows what will happen next?